Hello students, it's a time to learn about action word. Yes, you guessed it right. We are going to talk about verb today. The topic is well known to you guys. If you do not have ample knowledge of verb and its particular types and forms of verbs, and if you do not have the knowledge about how to use this particular verb or identify verb, let me tell you, your knowledge of English language or any language will be incomplete, or whatever you will learn, it you might end up learning something wrong. That is how the topic verb is very pivotal. So let's begin with its definition. As I always say that nobody will ask you definition of verb, but unless and until we know about that particular word that we are going to learn, whatever types that we are going to look at, it will be insufficient to know. So let us talk about definition. Verb is an action word. Action that the subject does. And subject is the doer that we all know. So whatever action the subject is doing in the given sentence, that particular word is verb. As you can see in the slide, it is the heart of language. Heart of language means the way a heart keeps on pumping and keeps on working, functioning in our body 24/7. Similarly, without verb there is no sentence. Single action word can be a sentence, and you know that any language you need to have alphabets, then words, and then sentences. And verb functions very important or major role in framing sentences or the language. That's why I have given you one very important sentence, that it's the heart of language. Any language that you want to learn, if you do not pay attention to verb, if you do not understand it comprehensively, the knowledge of the language will be incomplete or insufficient, or sometimes it may be wrong. See, verb is very important because as you can see that it affects the subject, it affects the person, first person, second person, third person. It affects the number, singular, plural. It affects the tense, all three tense and their subtypes that we are going to see in the next video. You will realize how it affects the tense. It affects the mood and active or passive voice. The way subject affects all this, similarly they affect the verb. So it's a reciprocal relationship. And all these things that I just now said about subject, person, number, tense, mood, voice, narration, in every type of sentence, in transformation also you will realize that the major part is done by verb. And that's why I am stressing very emphatically, telling you guys that please pay attention to verb. So let's see something more about verb. This is what I want you to know about verb. Forms of verbs. See, English has abundance of verbs, and broadly speaking these verbs are regular verbs or irregular verbs. Let me clarify this particular term first of all. Regular verbs are those verbs which receive ed suffix in past tense form as well as in past participle form, like work, worked, worked. So, and let me tell you another fact of English language is that in English language regular verbs are less in number and irregular verbs are more. And it is very tough for each and every language learner, English language learner, to remember this, because irregular verbs, as the title itself says, they are irregular. There is no regularity. There is no rule as such that in past participle this kind of suffix should be added or this kind of change should be made, or in past participle form of the verb this such is the rule that you need to apply to that particular root verb. There are no rules, and that's why these verbs are called irregular verbs. And in order to understand these regular and irregular verbs, we need to know 5 or 6 forms of verb. I have given you in the slide. You can see the first one is base form. Base form means the basic root. You cannot split it further, or you may split it further, but it will simply remain an alphabet, and it won't stand. It doesn't have any meaning in isolation. So it's a base form that further the split is not possible. As you can see, the second one is infinitive form. Infinitive means the to is added before the root of that verb. S or ES form. See, please pay attention to these forms, because when we are going to use the verb in different tenses, these forms are going to help us to frame the tense of the sentence of different tenses. For example, S and ES form. Whenever the subject is third person singular like he, she, it, or any name, singular name, in simple present tense, we have to add S or ES to the root or the base form of the verb, like works. He works, she works. The fourth one is ing form. Ing form is always used in continuous tense, and the ing suffix is added to the base of the verb, like work, working. Past form. In simple past tense, we are bound to use past form of the verb. In regular verb, it is very easy to add only ed suffix in past form as well as in past participle form. But in irregular verbs, as you can see in the next four verbs that I have given you, all of them are irregular verbs. You will realize that it is not that easy. So please pay attention to how the changes are there. And there are no rules. That's why English is called funny language. It is weird. It is absurd. It makes the rule at one moment and the next moment it breaks the rule. And nobody knows the logic. And if you try to understand the logic, you won't find it in any book. If you find it, please get back to me. So the past form and past participle form, for regular verbs, ed suffix is added. Make it a point. Past participle form is used in mostly perfect tense or in passive voice. The next is irregular verbs. As you can see, go, base form, infinitive form, to go. I wanted to go to a place. S or ES form. See, ES suffix. Now there are also certain rules where to add S suffix and ES suffix. If the base form of the verb ends with the alphabets like O, S, CH, TH, X, then ES suffix is added, and rest of the time S suffix is added. So please mark these words also, that when to add ES suffix and S suffix when we are going to use the verbs in simple present tense, and if the subject is third person singular, we are going to use S or ES form, and it is mostly in simple present tense that we are going to use this form. Ing form, as I said, ing suffix is added to the base or the root form of the verb, and mostly it is used as continuous tense. The next one is past form. See, go is the irregular verb. Ed suffix is not added. It changes went. And if you ask me why it became went and why not goed, there is no explanation for this. If you can come across with this kind of explanation, that why it is not goed and why it is went, please email it to me. And the past participle form, as you can see, it is gone, Gona, and nobody knows why it has become gone. Probably the linguists, the people who study language, they may be in the position to answer this. Similarly, the third verb, as you can see, it is read, infinitive, to read, S or ES form, reads, ing, reading. But see the oddity of this particular verb. There is no change. If you see base form read and past form, again the spelling is same, but the pronunciation changes. This is what the weirdness or absurdity of English language, and that's why Mr. Amitabh Bachchan also said that it's a funny language. We have to learn it. Why? How? You don't know. Just learn it the way it is. It becomes read in past form, and in past participle again it remains read. Spelling is same like base form, but the pronunciation changes. So when you are using it in your speech, make sure that you are appropriately pronouncing it. That's how you can identify it. The fifth verb, as you can see, deliberately I have given you these odd irregular verbs so that you should understand how it works. Do, it is also an auxiliary verb, but here it is functioning as action word, or I have treated it as action word. So you can see the base form do, infinitive to do, S or ES form does, ing doing, past form did, and past participle done. See the last one, put, base form of the verb, infinitive to put, S or ES puts, ing putting, past form put, There is no change in the spelling, there is no change in the pronunciation. And past participle again same, put. No change in the pronunciation, no change in the spelling. So please pay attention to these forms of verbs. Based on these forms, anything that you learn in language, English language, you are going to utilize these forms. Let there be any verb, you have to use somewhere in your speech or somewhere in your writing all these 5 or 6 forms that I have given you on this slide. You are bound to use it. So please, you can go on adding so many verbs over here on go on searching your infinitive, s, es form, ing form, past form and past participle form. That will be a good exercise for you. The next one is types of verbs, like finite verb, non-finite verb, action verb, helping verb, linking verb, regular verb, irregular verbs. Let us have a look at it one by one. Finite verbs. Finite means they are in the control of tense, they are in the control of subject, as well as they can stand on themselves. In isolation also they have some meaning. They are they can form an independent clause, like simple, complex and compound sentences that we are going to look afterwards. There you will realize that the simple sentences are formed with the help of finite verbs. So it is these are the examples of finite verb. Go, I go to school. If I change the subject as third person singular he, there is a change in the verb, like he goes to the school. If I again change the subject, they go to school. Third one, if I change the tense, there is a change in the verb. This is finite verb. Finite verb, they change according to the person, according to the number of subject, according to the tense of the given sentence. So this is the speciality of finite verbs. Like Aryan, third person singular, but if I change it into simple past, it becomes Aryan went to school. So this is how you need to pay attention, that in finite verbs, they change according to the tense of the sentence, they change according to the subject, or that is the person of the subject, they change according to the number. If the subject is singular, I go to school. If the subject is plural, like you are going to school, I am going to school, in this manner there is a change in finite verb you need to pay attention to. Non-finite verbs. See, non-finite verbs are very essential from the point of view of competitive examination also, or error finding. They function like nouns, they function like adjectives, they function like adverbs. It is because non-finite verbs, they do not have direct link with the subject of the sentence. They appear somewhere in the subject. They may appear in the predicate of the sentence, they may appear as a complement in the subject. They do not have exact relationship with the subject, and that's why they are not affected by the number of subject, they are not affected by the tense of the sentence, they are not affected by the person of the subject. They are simply as it is. You will realize it by this example. And these are the examples of non-finite verbs. Non-finite verbs are participles. As I said, participles means past participle as well as present participle. Present participle means ing form of the verb. Past participle means, the last form that we are going to use in perfect tense. You can see the examples also, you will realize doesn't matter you change the tense of the sentence, doesn't matter you change the subject of the sentence, these non-finite verbs are not going to change. They are participles, as I say, present participle, that is ing form of the verb, past participle, then infinitives, as I said, you have to add to before the root of the verb, and gerunds. Gerund means when the ing form of the verb functions as a noun of the given sentence, it becomes gerund. As you can see, fishing is a lovely activity, swimming is best exercise. So here, though it is an ing form, it is not a verb, it is a noun, and it is non-finite verb. Non-finite means the verb form which is not affected by the subject or the tense. The next one is action verb. In the definition of verb itself, we have already gone through this particular definition. As you can see, different actions on this slide, like playing, cooking, running, swimming, barking, sleeping, reading, laughing. So these are the actual exercises performed by, or actual actions done by the